I am the chairman of the committee, and I want to thank everyone for coming out today. Just to kind of get an indication of who's in the room, I would like to take the opportunity to have everyone to introduce themselves, and we'll start in that far right-hand corner right there.
Housing and Neighborhood Services.
Andrew Bowman, City Innovation and Technologies Center for Data and Analytics.
Judy Porter with the Housing Partnership.
Captain Talmont, Charlotte McCourt Police Department.
Brenda Lois, Mecklenburg County Continuum of Care.
Cynthia Harrison, Historic Camp Greenwood Group.
Kelly Flannery, Finance.
Jennifer Wolf, Finance.
Matt Asset Finance.
Ed Follett, One Mac.
Anna Schleiden, City Attorney's Office. Jerry Grant, City Manager's Office.
Start in the back with the young man in the back.
Reese Presley, Laurel Street.
Ryan Porter, Habitat for Humanity. Steve Cohen, One Mech, and the Green Spot.
Himasaya, Local Initiative Support Cooperation.
Kyle Pearson, Libby.
Kimberly Cole, Meridian.
Paul Mason at Libya.
Connie Steidinger, Horizon Development Properties.
Rusty Mills, Listen.
Allison Craig, Planning.
Paul Ballman, Crossland Southeast. Bill Butler, Crossland Southeast.
Pam Weidman, Housing and Neighborhood Services.
Ralphine Caldwell, Liske.
Victoria Johnson, City of Charlotte, City Manager's Office.
Charles Kouri, committee member. Braxton Winston, vice chair.
Victoria Watlington, committee member.
Gail Whitcomb, Housing and Neighborhood Services.
Well, thanks everyone for being here, and without further ado, we're going to get started. We have one agenda item for today, and that's an update on the Local Initiative Support Corporation, or known as LISK, relating to their affordable housing efforts. They're about ready to celebrate 1 year, right? And so this will be a great opportunity for us to get an update on what they've done, what they plan on doing, and where they're going from here. So I'll turn over the meeting to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to present to you today to the Great Neighborhoods Committee. We want to start a little bit by, some of you already know about LISK. You've heard about LISK, and some of you have not, so I want to be sure to make sure that everyone knows who we are. LISK was started in 1979, about 40 years ago, and we started on the premise that there needed to be some type of middle person. We knew that there were funds available for our communities. However, we needed to get those funds in the community and be able to offer the communities technical assistance and our expertise to be able to carry out their community initiatives. What you see on this chart that we have here is some of our impact that we've had across the country, which goes from affordable housing, preservation, as well as new build. And then it also, we have an actual, we funded schools, charter schools, as well as early childhood centers. And then in addition to that, we've also have a very strong recreation presence across the country. We're able to achieve the impact that you saw from the previous slide through our offices. LISK has 35 offices across the country. We just added Greenville, South Carolina, and Hampton Roads, Virginia, and continuing to add other. Our focus this year is to add more offices in the South, as you can see from this chart. That's a focus of our president and CEO. We also have a rural umbrella. We have a rural footprint, so we are across several counties across the country. In addition to that, obviously, we can't do anything that we do without our partners. Partners are very important to us. All of our work is carried through some type of partner to be able to make the impact that we do in our communities, as well as we have 3 affiliates that handles our affordable housing initiatives, commercial lending, as well as some of our small business lending. Our comprehensive approach. We receive funds from banks, corporations, foundations, government agencies, and then we in turn use that funding to provide financing, loans, grants and equity, as well as technical assistance to our local partners and to developers. What we also do is, one of the things that we work on is making sure that we have empower people, and we can do that through enhancing job training and enhancing skills, actually preserving housing as we are, and providing affordable housing. Then in addition to that, we look at small businesses. How can we help small businesses thrive through our coaching and build their capacity? as well as being a advocacy for policy change. We have a very large policy department that's located in DC, so we are very active in the policy that is happening across the country, and making sure that we are making sure our voice as well as our community voices are heard. You have met some of my team, which is sitting behind me. We have already opened up the office. As we said, we are approaching 1 year. I can't believe it's been 1 year already. March of last year. We'll be hiring another staff person. A program assistant will be hired in the next month. And then probably by the end of the year, probably maybe one more staff person as well. The way that Liske operates is that we actually target communities. So we have already said that Historic West End is our target community. Some of you already know that, who I've talked to already. And we are looking at, as far as our capacity, as far as building capacity for the community organizations in Historic West End, as well as some other initiatives that we're working on, which I'll talk to you about in a second. We are bringing funding, and I'll talk to you about that as well. Some of the funding that we already have received for Charlotte, and some that is going to be coming up here soon, and that will be announced hopefully in the next month or two. Liske, the Charlotte office has what's called, all of the offices have local advisory committees. The Liske offices are not governed by boards per se. They actually have committees. The Charlotte office local advisory committee launched in August of last year. We have 25 people that are on that particular committee that have accepted to be on the local advisory committee. That consists of our funders, other stakeholders. Jada Grandi-Mock is our actual vice chair of that particular committee, and they actually act as an advisory to me. So some of the things that we are working on, they actually help me with being able to pull those forward and be able to achieve some of the goals that we've set forth this year. Our Grassroots Advisory Committee was also launched in August as well. Some of you from this past year understand what the Grassroots Advisory Committee is. It consists of community leaders as well as advocates. We have had 3 meetings thus far of the Grassroots Advisory Committee, and we anticipate meeting about, I would say about 4 times a year. And 4 or 5 times a year. Right now, what we're discussing, there's a lot of different things that we discuss at the Grassroots Committee. It is not just about housing, so I do want to be sure to say that. The Grassroots Advisory Committee also talks about, we've talked about education, we talked about how can we be better involved when it comes to the census, because we know that that's going to be important for being able to count all of our community people in our neighborhoods, because that makes a difference in funding. We also talked about, we're also talking about making sure that the Grassroots has a input in community events. For example, the Lee Institute is using the Grassroots Committee right now to be able to get ideas on an actual community conference. So they're actually offering that input for that. Liske Charlotte, as I said before, we are looking at a comprehensive community development plan. That is how we actually achieve all of the impact and goals that you saw earlier. And we plan to do the same. Nothing is going to be different as far as Charlotte is concerned. And the things that you see here are some of the items that we plan to address, particularly as we go into Historic West End. And some of the things we're just getting started on. As you know, we spent last year a lot of time working on the Charlotte Housing Opportunity Investment Fund, so we got that up and running. And so this year we are going to be more, our emphasis is going to be more on getting back and getting into the community and making sure that we address some of these other issues outside of housing. So let's talk a little bit about the Charlotte Housing Opportunity Investment Fund. As you know, Liske is the fund manager for the fund. The Foundation for the Carolinas has raised $53 million. The goal was $50 million. They have raised $53 million to date. The actual fund itself we plan to actually finance up to 1,500 units across the city. In round 1, we've accomplished 531 units, which I'll talk to you about as well. In round 1, we also committed $10.6 million of that $53 million that has been raised. We have worked with city staff. One of the things that we did this past year, which was in round 1, was making sure that we had a joint RFP process. So we released an RFP in conjunction with the city. And when we released that RFP, developers were submitted their actual deals to the city, and if they wanted funding from the Housing Trust Fund and or the CHOF, they were able to do so. So the whole point in doing that was, one, to try to make it a cohesive process, but also where the developers would not have to go to separate places to be able to try to get their funding. We could do more of a one-stop shop type approach. This particular slide is a reminder to you of the deals that were approved to receive Housing Trust Fund dollars, as well as those that are receiving the CHOF, the Housing Opportunity Fund. And I wanted to be sure to show this so that you can kind of see the leverage of the $12.8 million in Housing Trust Fund requests. 10.6 of that came from the private fund. So I did want you to know that, but also so that you could see that, the amount that we are spending for the first round of 10.6 leaves about 43.3 million that's left for subsequent rounds. So we still have funds to go to be able to carry out another round and another round until we've depleted all of the funds for the private fund. Under the private fund, the CHOF, we have 531 units that we have approved for, recommended for funding. Of that 531 units, as you can see here, 20% was at 30% AMI. Of the total 531 units, 87% are for families below 80% AMI. That was, and I'm pointing that out because one, that was one of the things with the private investors is that they did want to see a certain percentage less than 80% AMI, but they also wanted to see the 20% at 30% AMI. That was a requirement. The investors of the fund, there are 13 total investors of the fund, and they all really were very happy with the way that this particular first round turned out as far as the AMI percentage, as far as the partnership. And, I guess the thing is when I look at this and think about this past year, one of the things that we know, we wanted it to be a simultaneous, we wanted it to be a process that we work with the city together. But we also wanted to make sure in this past year that, again, the developers had a one-stop shop. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing that. Are there lessons learned from this past year? Absolutely. But that's with any new project such as this, when you have city coming together with private funds, and the private funds consist of 13 investors, along with a great partnership with Enlivian as well, and bringing all of those factors together to be able to see what you see here. So we're really, really proud of it. We know that in this next round, and just to talk to you a little bit about our take on the next round, we've released the RFP for round 2, January the 17th, Ms. Wapper? January the 17th. It is going to be relatively the same process, but the difference between round 1 and round 2 is that for the private fund, we're going to be more, the process is going to be more simultaneous. As you recall last year, and last year you approved in last July the Housing Trust Fund requests, and as you may recall, right after that, then we started our process of review, which meant that the private fund, which is the Investment Advisory Committee, actually reviewed the deals thereafter. We're having a more simultaneous process for round 2. So when we actually get the developers, having look at all of the developers' deals for round 2, we're going to go ahead and carry it through the process. So what that means is at the time that you actually approve the Housing Trust Fund, 2 or 3 days later, we're going to have the Investment Advisory Committee meet for the private fund and hopefully be able to do the same. So we're trying to move things along quicker. And the reason that I want to do it that way is because at this point, last year again was a learning curve, and we know that, and we know now that we know what we know, and we feel like that we have spoke with a lot of the developers and listened to them as far as what they need. I think if we could do it this way, we could move things along quicker to get them what they need to be able to get the housing on the ground. So that's going to be the main difference that you can see there.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Mr. Wilson.
Are you going to go to the next slide from here? I just want to ask some questions on the
Yes.
presentation thus far before
Yes.
we get into the
Yes,
next
that's cool. That's fine.
That's fine?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Mr. Wilson.
Can we get a list of the local advisory committee members as well as the grassroots advisory
Absolutely.
committee members?
Absolutely.
Also, are there minutes of these meetings that you've had with these committees? If so, would like to see that so we can get a better understanding of the conversations
Absolutely.
that are happening. Are we going to keep building the Opportunity Investment Fund, or is this a one-shot deal?
No, it's not a one-shot deal. The foundation is still looking to raise monies, so I would not say it's a one-stop at all, no.
Is that 1,500 unit goal for the entire fund, or was that a round one goal?
That's for the entire 53 million.
For the entire
For
53
the
million?
53 million.
So what happens if we either hit 1,500 without spending that 53 million, or what happens once we get to that 1,500 unit goal?
We anticipated with the 53 million that we would get 1,500 units. If we can get more, then obviously we're going to continue. We'll continue to use the 53 million. The 53 million needs to be used to be able to build the housing.
So I guess part of my question is, if that, once we exhaust that 53 million, are we going to go and raise another 50 million? What is the is it?
I can't speak on behalf, obviously, of the foundation for the Carolinas, but I know that they would like to continue to raise money, but we would have to cross that, yeah.
I think that's something that we should know.
Yeah.
So we have we know that this is going to be a generational
Right.
effort. And
Right.
we need to know if our partners are in here for the long haul, or if this is something that is, once it's gone, this first initiative is gone, it's over, and we have to find other partners. Are there deals that have used the Opportunity Investment Funds without Housing Trust Fund investments?
Yeah.
Can this investment fund be used independently of the way we spend?
Not without Housing Trust Fund.
Without, yeah.
All of them use.
All of them use Housing Trust Fund for the first round.
So is List doing anything outside of here in Charlotte in terms of developing property outside of collaborating with us on the city level? Are you dealing independently with the market?
You mean not at this point, no. No, not at maybe I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Is List going out there and working with developers without, there being a tie to city money?
That we are meeting with developers. Do we have anything that's already on the books right now? No. Does that make sense?
But there's nothing on the books right now. Are y'all working towards?
Absolutely. We are working with, we meet with developers obviously for the developers that want to be able to use the private fund, but we also work with developers if they want to use List funding in any other way so that we can be able to put more housing on the ground.
What does that portfolio look like? What are your goals and aspirations? What is our List goals and aspirations in that space?
I would say it's very similar to what we're trying to do with the CHOVE, which means trying to make sure that we have less than, as far as 30% AMI is obviously our key point, okay? And then the other is, because just like with the CHOVE, we have 87% of the units that are less than 80% AMI. We want to still be able to look at that as well. But also we're talking with some developers who want to come into, who are actually looking at doing some NOAAs. So trying to preserve some affordable housing as well. So all three of those, from building to preserving as well.
So how with that, that kind of dual purpose of what Liske is doing here in the Charlotte community, maybe this is for Ms. Weidman. How do we work with Liske to ensure that we know the whole picture of what is going on at every point in time, right? Because if you have an organization that, part of their business might be outside of the scope of where our priorities are or the work that we're doing, how do we ensure that that equal balance, that balance is happening, and that we're working always towards our interests and not necessarily against our interests, but
Yeah. I would say, for one, we meet, as far as Pam and I and her team and my team, we meet regularly. So we're talking regularly to make sure we know what we're doing. But also, what I do want to say is for the private fund, the Investment Advisory Committee has Pam and one of her team, Miles, are on that particular committee to ensure that the city's interest is represented on those particular meetings. And they're also on the actual LAC as well.
Let's pause right there and allow her to finish the last 4 slides, and then we can open it up to all the committee members for questions. Okay?
Okay. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about historic West End. As we said, that is one of our target neighborhoods that we have started work already. We are working with HWEP, which stands for Historic West End Partners, helping them. We gave them a $25,000 grant to help them with building their capacity. We are working with them on board governance, making sure that they look at sustainability and succession planning in regards to their board, but also looking at financial oversight as well. As they are receiving funds, how are they recording that and making sure that they have necessary software in place to be able to track everything that they're doing in regards to their grants that they're receiving. We have started a stakeholder. We're already doing some community meetings with them. We do a stakeholder meeting in Historic West End, which happens every other month. That consists of business leaders, some residents, President Armbrister, Knight Foundation, and others who have been working in Historic West End. And we bring them together to actually talk about what's going on in the community, exchange ideas, but also it's a great way for everyone to come together and know who's doing what. And from that particular meeting, this past time, we've talked about a lot of different things, and really, we actually had CMPD come on the last one to talk a little bit about some efforts that they're making in Historic West End, and we wanted to be sure to get that word out to all the rest of the residents. Some other things that we're working on in that neighborhood, we work with the city in regards to doing a roundtable discussion for commercial displacement. We did a roundtable which had some small business owners who were displaced due to the fact that their particular location may have been purchased and they had to end up moving. So from that, we were able to report that back to the city manager and his team and the economic development team so that they could get an idea of some of the things that those particular business owners, there was actually 14 attended, so they could get an idea of some of the things that those business owners felt like should be addressed. We are already offering some counseling and technical assistance to some small businesses in Historic West End, where we are talking to them about things that they want to do as far as upkeep of their business, expansion and things like that, as well as providing some small business loans. Liske is an actual CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. So we actually we actually provide lending to lower income communities. So we are already talking with some small businesses about that, and we'll roll out some small business loan programs, obviously with working with what the city already has been offering in Historic West End as well. We'll continue with our Opportunity Zone education. We've held 2 Opportunity Zone convenings, I believe, one in May and one in October. We're going to continue that for this next year as well and continue to make sure the community is educated on that. And then upcoming initiatives, which are just in the beginning stages, is looking at our health and safety, looking at one of the things that the community has talked about specifically is obviously a food desert and that they want better food options in that area. So we're working with the community organizations on that now and seeing what they would like to see, taking an assessment. We just met with CMPD in regards to the safety initiative and seeing how we can be of assistance with that, and obviously working with partners on that as well. And then the other is our other emphasis on affordable housing. I'm working with a partner now, which hopefully will transpire here soon, where we could possibly get some funding for a critical home repair program specific to Historic West End, as well as looking at other homeownership retention strategies. We know that there are a number of folks who live in the area that want to stay in their homes, and we want them to stay in their homes. So we want to try to see what strategies can we work with that's already being out there that we can be able to use for Historic West End. Our other initiatives, sports and recreation, we have a NFL grassroots partnership that we've had for 20 years with the NFL. One of the schools, actually West Charlotte High actually has one of our list-supported NFL turf fields. We want to continue that and get the word out for that across, not just in historic West End, but across the city. And then we're looking at other partnerships where we can be able to really use our recreation, sports and recreation initiatives. We are also looking at promoting a financial opportunity center in historic West End. That is, Liske has 90-something financial opportunity centers across the country, which actually provides job development and training, as well as financial literacy. And it's in conjunction with partners throughout the city, so it's not separate. It's a way for us to be able to work with other partners in Charlotte who are already doing that and bring that funding to Charlotte. So really good thing, and we hope we'll be able to do that in historic West End as well. Other program updates. Single-family acquisition rehab program we are doing in conjunction with the city. And that will be where we would target 12 homes in a target neighborhood. We really would like for it to be one neighborhood so we can make an impact. We are working on that program now, and I believe an RFQ has already been out for that, so we're working on that now with the city. We are going to continue, as I said, the NFL Foundation partnership. The next RFP will be released in July, so we hope that we'll be able to get that out, and we look to the folks in the room to help us get the word out to make sure that we can hopefully have Charlotte be awarded that partnership again. And then we have a $500,000 award that we received for in our partnership with Atrium Health and Fannie Mae, in which we'll design a cost model for social determinants of health in affordable housing developments, where we can have a direct, we can offer incentives to developers to be able to use this model in affordable housing developments. And then our last is our most recent award, which is $605,000 in partnership with Enlivian. Enlivian's Family Self-Sufficiency Program, we will partner with them to help them with expanding that program. Very special thanks to Ally Financial for their Ally Signature Program for this funding. And we look forward to working with Enlivian to be able to really hopefully be able to, they're already doing a great job with their program, and we're looking forward to expanding that program to be able to serve more people. And that's all I have.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Very comprehensive, and I'll ask a question right now.
Sure.
Going back to the loan pool,
Yes.
could you kind of give me your perspective from the developers that are approaching you to utilize the pool, their feedback in terms of the ability to access the funds, the interest rates, et cetera, their experience utilizing, coming to Liske?
Absolutely. Some of the developers that we've been talking to, one of which has to do with there's some that one that we've talked to, and I won't call names, one that we talked to that is looking at preserving. So that's all they do is preserve housing. And they're looking at how they can actually use the actual private fund to be able to do that. And so what we do is we actually, we meet with them and we kind of have them to give us kind of a synopsis of how they envision their project working. And then from there, we actually go through the actual, we look at the underwriting guidelines, of course, for round 2. Obviously for round 3 and subsequent rounds, because even on round 2, we changed some underwriting guidelines from round 1, and we let them know that. But we actually kind of look at it to see if there is a way for the private fund to be able to work with them. Every deal is different. So some of the things that they talk about has been the rate, but it's also been some other things that they wanted, in which we're able to negotiate the rate with some of the other things that they would like to see in their particular deal.
Such as?
I would say, and can I refer to my trustee?
Helpline.
Yeah, my helpline back here.
It could be the structure of the deal, it could be the pay-in schedule for the construction that goes in. It could be several factors to help them figure out the best way to get the most economies of scale out of the deal. So it could be pay-in schedules, it could be legal, it could be debt service coverage, many things to help them eke out more in their deal. So I think that's the way we look at it holistically. So every deal is going to be negotiated like any other commercial real estate deal. They negotiate to the point where they get kind of their own balance of what they're looking for. but no two deals will ever be alike, so that's for sure.
Ms. Johnson?
I have 3 questions. What is the RFP deadline for the Opportunity Investment Fund?
It was February the 10th.
Okay, so it's already passed, okay.
Yes.
And then, as far as the single-family acquisitions,
Yes, ma'am.
you said they're target neighborhoods?
Yes.
Is that neighborhood in the West End?
It is not. That's a program that we're doing with the city, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Ms. Rodman.
My little musical chairs
We
here.
are.
We have not, that RFQ is due in our offices February 26th. So it's due in our offices. We have not decided exactly what that target neighborhood would be. When we envisioned this last budget cycle, we knew that there were several neighborhoods throughout the city who could benefit from it. So a lot of that will determine on kind of what the product is out there, what is for sale in the community once we have the RFQs back in.
And the RFQs are coming from
Just
private
different
developers?
developers who would be
Okay.
interested in doing this work.
Okay, and then as far as the target program with the West End partners, what would it take to expand that to like citywide or other neighborhoods?
We would have to we could have a conversation about
Okay.
that. Yeah, because typically what we do is we target one neighborhood for obvious reasons, because then we can measure the impact much better. So if we have decided that Historic West End is our target neighborhood for this year, whether or not we'll pick up other target neighborhoods is to be determined as we get through the year. Then I'll be able to know and kind of adjust and be able to see if we can add another neighborhood at some point.
Okay.
So we can have that conversation.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ralphine,
Yes.
hi.
Hey.
Have you, because you all work all over the country, have you been able to pull back information that helps inform us with regards to permitting times, some of the stats that the rest of the country faces that I'm just even becoming more and more aware how expensive permitting time makes
It is.
construction, that kind of thing.
Actually, we have a conference call about that next week, to be
Okay.
exact. So I'll be able to report. I can send that report to you in regards to that, because we are meeting to try to see, how can we, while we are in the middle of round 2, but how can we be better at what we're doing in Charlotte? And so that's the reason that we're having that conversation. Is some of the national team, particularly the housing national team, wants to talk through that to see if there's a way for us to be able to offer our expertise in regards to that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be helpful, while we have this partnership with a national organization, anything that we can get from that to help us do what we do better. The second question I have is regards to safety. You just spoke to CMPD, or you're going to?
We just spoke to them, so we're in the very initial stages of that.
And we should talk
Yes,
about that
because
because the overall violence reduction program looks like it might start with the West End.
Okay.
So.
Is that what you were going to talk about? We were going to talk about before? Okay.
Yeah,
we'll talk about
yeah,
that.
so we should really make sure that you guys are a part of that conversation as a stakeholder as well. Because capacity, again, going back to what Liske has done in other cities, you might even have ideas on capacity building,
Okay.
that type of thing in the community. Thank you.
Mr. Winston?
Ms. Caldwell,
Yes.
you mentioned some of the slides about opportunity zone education, and I've attended some of those convenings, and what stood out to me, and not just in those 2 meetings, but as I've been engaging with folks across the country around this, that there's no kind of best practice in dealing with this. But localities, municipalities, folks that work with, on the local level within opportunity zones have been encouraged to form a strategy surrounding it. I've been particularly frustrated that we've been talking about this for 2 years, and as a city, we don't have a strategy around opportunity zones, how we're going to deal with it. Has Liske determined your strategy besides just educating people about opportunity zones, whatever that means, in terms of how we're going to invest and work within the boundaries of opportunity zones?
I wouldn't say we have design, we've come up with a strategy. We've been talking with the city staff in regards to that, and we're continuing to have those conversations. I think that here in this next year, you'll continue to see us with the education piece, because we're getting a lot from that October, particularly that October Opportunity Zone Convention. We've gotten a lot of calls from businesses as well as some of the homeowners in opportunity zones that have wanted to have some conversation with us. So we're going to continue the conversation, but do we have an actual strategy that I can say right now, here's what we're going to do? No, we don't have that yet. We're going to continue to work with the city and continue to work otherwise to try to see if we can come up with one.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from the committee? That means you did a very good job.
Look at that.
I guess one last question before you leave, though, and this is really relating to the small business investment and stuff that you want to do on the corridor. Could you kind of be a little more specific in terms of how you want to interface with small business owners, not only in that corridor, but also throughout the city as well?
Absolutely. What we want to do is starting out, there's three things, one of which is, as we're talking to some of the small business owners now, we're getting like a wide variety of requests. Okay, so what we're doing is kind of triaging, so to speak, those requests to make sure that we are giving them what they need. One of which is we have some businesses that want smaller loans to be able to purchase like equipment and stuff like that. So we're like, okay, how can we be able to help that business? But then we also have some business owners who are going to be doing some, as you know, some very large projects in historic West End, in which we want to help them, and what we're doing with them is actually offering the technical assistance to them and then introducing them to other finance options to make sure that they get all the financing that they need to be able to purchase the building, upfit it, and then move forward with that, but also giving them the assistance that they need when it comes to the community engagement piece, because all of that requires community engagement, right? So I would say that the way that we're handling our small business right now is just making sure that we're understanding the needs first, which is the first thing you do, but then also design our products around that so that we can make sure that we're assisting them going forward. And we're starting with historic West End, but obviously we can carry that on outside of that once we really get everything, you know, the way that we feel like works best in that community.
Gotcha. Mr. Weston?
You also mentioned the work that you do on policy, that Liske does on policy. As we've been forming our legislative agendas, both federal and state, and our intergovernmental committee, we do have the committee has suggested that affordable housing continue to stay on those legislative agendas. Have you been advising staff on any policy changes that we should advocate for? What has that, if so, what has that advisement been? If not, why not? And what are you looking at in terms of changes that we can advocate for on the state and federal level? Would also like to hear your input on potential legislative changes for a source of income discrimination and removing barriers to that here in Charlotte.
I would say first, I just started policy visits, so I just did that this past November, so I'm still new at that. But also the office is still new at that, so as far as Charlotte is concerned. Liske itself, as far as our policy team, some of the things that we're working on, first of all, is making sure that if there are anything that's coming through, particularly as it relates to North Carolina, the policy team informs me of that. So I just started having my policy meetings with the policy team this past month. So as I'm continuing that, then that way I'll be able to keep you abreast and Ms. Weidman and otherwise abreast of things that are coming through the pipe. But some of the bigger thing that we're working on right now that I know is happening is the changes in the Community Reinvestment Act when it comes to banks. That is a hot topic for us right now, and the reason that I say that is because it will change how banks are able to count credits for the work that they do in the community. And that is something that we are definitely on top of and staying on top of, because it could mean that banks may not be able to do as they may not be required to do as much to be able to still get an exemplary rating from the banks. So we want to make sure that we're on top of that, and that is one thing that I'll be discussing with Ms. Wyman as well, because we all want to make sure we have an input on that. So things like that are the things that we are on top of from a DC level that we bring down to the office level to be able to carry out.
Mr. Kouri.
No work on source of income?
I'm sorry, what was the
No work
question?
on source of income discrimination?
Actually, I did get I am working on that, but I don't have an update on that right now.
Mr. Kouri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see the bullet point, and if I missed this, sorry, you can just correct me, but how much money has been raised from out of the city of Charlotte, outside?
How much has been raised outside of the city of Charlotte?
From like outside in, because that was one of the big value props of Liske.
We have 500, 605, 250. We're going to put 1.2 million in construction loan, and then we've given 25 to Historic Weston Partners. And more to come.
So this came from outside?
Correct.
So
That's correct.
and what was the source of that?
When you say which are you looking at?
Well, just the numbers you threw out there, that came from,
Ally
let's
Bank
say-
is 605. You see that on the slide? I'm sorry, slide 16.
Yeah.
Okay, 500 is from Fannie Mae. You see that right above it. 250 is from the NFL Foundation. 1.2 million would be a Liske construction loan that we'll provide, so that's our funding that we'll provide for the single-family acquisition rehab program. And then 25,000 was our funds, which was unrestricted funds for Historic West End Partners.
Okay, so essentially, give or take, it's like under 2 million in grants, programs, and loans, and then 25K in actual capital directly like brought in. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Correct.
Okay. I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And finding that update. You guys have done a lot of work in less than a year. I think a year is next month, March. So I want to thank you and your staff for the partnership that you have with the city of Charlotte. We look forward to round two.
Absolutely.
And see where that leads us as a community moving forward. So that was our only agenda item, other than just to acknowledge that the deadline has passed. Staff has received the applications. They're doing their due diligence to review them right now. So Pam, her crew are doing their jobs. Just also want to acknowledge that we had a very good neighborhood board retreat about 3 weeks ago. So I want to thank Pam and her staff again for that good work. And some council member, I'm not sure who, had a great town hall meeting last night. I'm not sure who it was, but I keep hearing good things that occur. So if you want to speak to that for about
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
I just want to say, fantastic job to all of Housing and Neighborhood Services and our partner departments, Office of Constituent Services. Y'all did amazing. I know I asked you for something a little bit different in a very short time, and well, I won't ask you to come up, but you did something new in a very limited amount of time, and you did it fantastically. And we've got rave reviews from the neighborhood. I've gotten emails even this morning saying that people were able to make great connections. So thank you for being flexible, for being innovative, and I look forward to the next.
What was the new part? Tell us. We want to know.
I'll tell you when we
Okay,
get there.
tell me offline.
Imitation is the
I'm not
best
trying to
form of...
steal stuff.
No, I'm just getting ready to say.
Get something from
Imitation is the best form of flattery, so if I've already stole the idea,
Well, me too, right?
we're going to do it as well.
They did.
I don't imitate. I steal. Pass it off as my own. So
You got to ask them
I'm gonna need it.
personally.
Can you write up whatever that was for me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, seriously.
So things are occurring within the Great Neighborhoods scope of work. Staff is doing their due diligence in terms of processing. There are some issues in the community that we are aware of. That's not on the formal agendas that we want to talk about today. But we've all got emails about short-term rentals. We all got
Yeah.
emails in reference to the issue that Councilmember Braxton brought up as well. So everyone kind of doing some due diligence, and hopefully at some point there may be a referral from council to this committee to look at it, but just be quite aware of that. People are aware of what's happening around us, and we're trying to get as much information, data as possible, so that we can kind of speak intelligently when it does come before the committee and council. So, with that,
Thank you.
meeting adjourned.
Second.